That then brings us to building. And building is a big one for a lot of people because building is ultimately right now the last bastion of anything that people are doing in game is using it as a building simulator. RP is still alive, but building is a big part of that. And that brings up a concern of mine. And Ange, we were talking about this, and I know I was talking about this with Cat Died as well off stream, was if they're planning on doing a wipe within the next 3 months for this update, is it going to bring with it the new build pieces? I absolutely hope so, because if it doesn't, that means players are going to be getting started from the new wipe. If it is a total wipe, even better. But if it's not, whatever it may be, people have to start over, at least with their buildings, I would assume. And if there's going to be a wipe for this next patch, which we know there's most likely going to be within the next 3 months, presumably, and then at a later date, maybe a month after that, they release new build pieces, people are going to rebuild and then feel like they have to rebuild again. So I'm really, really, really hopeful, and I really would love to see the new build pieces come with the wipe. I really hope that that's how it goes. Kev says, hey, Ostrich, and give me building or give me death. Kev, I know that you are super big into building. We just went, for those of you who don't know, we just did a stream. We went and showed off Skywatch, which is Kev's clan and build, single man build, absolutely sprawling, amazing build. Make sure you go check out that stream if you want to see Kev's build. But yeah, I mean, I'm also worried for what the future holds for people like us, Kev, where we want to build big, expansive cities and stuff like that to have RP hubs or whatever it may be, if you're going to have to pay a subscription per plot. And we can talk more about that as we get more into building as well. But they go on to say that building is undoubtedly the most complete system in the game. We're amazed at how it unlocks the creativity of the community. Watching the world fill up with beautiful villages, mighty fortresses, and sprawling cities is a constant joy. And that's my main worry. Is it still going to be able to be filled with beautiful villages, mighty fortresses, and sprawling cities, and bring constant joy to people if the financial burden is too great? That's my main concern. If the financial burden is too great, it's going to be making it to where plots are way less plentiful and people are not going to be able to make as big of builds as they want. And then you have the added stress of, well, what happens if we do a group build and someone decides that they can't afford the plot upkeep anymore and they have to lift their plot? Now you have a hole in the middle of your city. It can easily become a nightmare, but building is amazing in this game. I love the building. I think honestly, I agree with them that it is one of the most fleshed out things in the game. The UI is polished and it feels really well, honestly. To interact with it just is a pleasure. I think that we need more build pieces. We need some more consistency, and we need some more small quality of life things in order to fully flesh it out. I'm not going to lie and say it's perfect, but I do have concerns about the plots going forward. Like, honestly, Ange, what do you think is the cutoff point for what plots should cost, honestly? Not considering the back end server upkeep and stuff. That's not, while I can recognize that they need to keep the servers afloat and they need to turn a profit in order for the game to exist, private servers would alleviate that again. But just looking at it from a player standpoint, how many plots would you have at different price points for that upkeep? Let's say they cost $5 per plot. How many plots would you have? And if they cost $10 per plot, how many plots would you have? How do you think that this is going to restrict players' ability to build that player-built immersive role-play experience that we're all in search of?
I personally would not spend more than $10 per plot. I just wouldn't. I'm really hoping that they're going to do $5 per plot.
And if they were $10 per plot, how many would you have? How much are you willing to pay in upkeep?
No, I probably would only have 2 if they were $10 per plot.
Right.
Because then I have to justify, it's just a lot to continuously pay every single month, especially when you think about, when you compare it to WoW. WoW is going to have building, it's going to have all
player
of that
housing
coming in soon. So why would I continue to pay to have 2 plots in one game for almost double?
Right. And that's going to be the real kicker is how much. Yeah. And it's going to come down to how much is it going to cost. Salty Veteran says, I have 36 plots currently. Yeah. So Salty Veteran, if those cost you $10 per plot, I mean, what even is that? That's $360 you're going to pay per month? No way. No way. That's not going to happen. If they're $5 per plot, you're still talking close to a couple $100. I mean, it's insane. Queen, great to have you in stream. Thanks for stopping by. Queen says, I agree. At Kev says, Was awesome. Thank you all. Queen, I'll help you if you still need ideas on how to build high. Queen says, I'd love some pointers at Kev. I've been busy lately and haven't logged in. Fadril says, building in PAX has been a positive, incredible experience for me. Absolutely, man. Salty Veteran says, $5 at least 40 plots for me. So if the plots cost $5, you're going to have 40 plots? So what, that's 20, what is that? That's what does that come out to? That's a lot of money, man. So if the plots cost $5 and you want to have 40 plots, you're going to be paying $200 a month. And if they cost $10, you'd be paying $400 a month. Yeah, I mean, every person's going to have their limit, of what they're willing to pay. That's crazy. That's crazy expensive. That's per month, man. That's wild. Obviously, everyone's going to have their own threshold, though. Kevadonis says, my name here is the same on Discord. Send invite. We'll work together. Absolutely, yeah. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with for Queen there. Let's catch up on some more chat before we go on here. Blimpy says, I would hope cost of more plots reduce per plot. Maybe they'll do like bundles of, hey, if you have 10 plots, it's 20% off or something. I don't know. Kev says, I have 20 plots. Salty Veteran says, I have 36 plots currently. Gore Force says, it should be $2.50 to $5 per plot so that it's $20 for 4 plots. Even then, I think that, it's hard to justify $20 a month over $15 a month when you consider content that you get from other games that have subscription models. But I think that would be, if they go too high, if they go more than that, Gore, it's gonna be insane. Kev says, drooling. I'm a retired veteran too, Salty. Kev is saying. UTB says, UO's was $10 a month per account with a limit of 5 houses per character. Equal to the houses over 25 years ago. Still works today with the IDOC system. Salty says $200. Yeah, that'd be, so that's what you're willing to pay then, is $200 per month to maintain land. But here's the thing too. If you have all those plots and you have $200, you're paying $200 per plot or $200 per month for that. What happens when maybe your interest in the game dips a little bit? And you're gonna have to keep paying that $200 per month, even though maybe you were not playing the game for this month. Otherwise, your plots will lapse and your land will start to decay and all your builds will go away. All your buildings will be destroyed. So it's going to force you to upkeep it, where private servers could alleviate that. Kev says, at Ostrich, can we go first, please, when building? Maven Moon says, Salty's got plans. Carmack, how's it going? Welcome into the stream. It says, at Salty Veteran, did you buy that many Founders Packs? He would have had to, yeah, because that's the only way to get that many plots. You have to buy Founders Packs. Most you can get is up to 4. Salty says, at Carmack, I did. I like building. Fadril says, $50 per month will most likely be my threshold. And that's really interesting to see, because with any other game out there, the average person does not have a threshold of $50 or $200 per month. Now, most people don't even have that much expendable cash. And that brings me to another point. That's why I'm kind of against this being too expensive, because it's going to be a threshold for players that are in more financially less stable positions, who also want to be able to, who deserve to be able to unwind and enjoy a video game as well. And I'm not saying that everything just needs to be free, but the recurring monthly cost is going to be a big dampener on how many plots will be in the world. But it's interesting to see that the thresholds are quite high for certain people who do enjoy building. Carmack says, that's mad, dedicated to the game. Kevadonis says, at Ostrich, can we please... Oh, I already read that one. Hold on, let me scroll down here. Bean says they should make it $20 a month and a one-time fee per plot that you keep forever and it's attached to your account. That would be interesting, but I think that would cause there to be a massive amount of plots, because a lot more people will be willing to do a one-time fee of, like, let's say you pay $20 a month, you buy the game for $100, you have 4 plots. Then you pay $20 per month and you can purchase more plots, and they cost $20 a piece or $15 a piece. I think that's an easier sell. A lot of people would buy hundreds of plots and there would just be massive inflation over time of tons and tons of plots. So I don't know if that's the best option, but it definitely is an option to be considered. Salty Veteran says that's like a Hulu live sub and a night at the bar. So I rationalize it as I could be drinking or getting permanent enjoyment from it. Yeah, I mean, I guess it comes down to, again, your own personal value of what you're getting for your money and your time investment. That's what it always comes down to. And that's why the thresholds are going to be all over the place. Kev says, agreed. UTB says, you offer a sell-to system to hand off those payments to other players, in my opinion. Gore4 says, I agree. If it's higher than that, it'll be super hard to enjoy building. Maven Moon says, what about different size plots at different costs? That'd be interesting. I think having a clan-based plot system where, let's say, Order of the Blood Brothers, 250 members, we have this massive chunk of land or something that has a more fleshed out permission system that can be cut up to rent out spots to other people or members and stuff. And then based on how much each member could then choose, let's say, okay, it's going to be $300, $400 for the clan to maintain this giant chunk of land. But Maven's contributing $20, $30 a month. Fadril is contributing $50 a month. I'm contributing $100 a month because I'm the clan leader. And other clan members maybe they can only afford $250 or $5 a month. It would allow us to have a giant clan plot. It's a very interesting idea and it's theorycraft. And let's be honest, it probably won't be implemented anything like that. But I like to come up with unique ideas like that and unique solutions to things. EOTB says my UO days was 5 accounts at $10 a month each. That's $50 a month for 6 years. And then I started giving away homes when I left and stopped playing. Fadril says, please understand for me, $50 a month is my overall threshold, not per plot, but overall monthly sub. Yes, absolutely. No, I understood that for sure, Fadril. I got you. Blimpy says, yeah, it is a tough one. I have the 4 plots, but I might not be able to afford all 4 plots. We'll see. Per month. Yeah, exactly. And I think that a lot of people will be in that situation as well. Goreforce says if they want to be greedy, they'll make a token that is limited to a cap of how many plots on a server and then turn them into a meta currency similar to Plex. It would make real estate. That would be really interesting. I don't think they're going to go with that model, just given that what they've talked about before, but that would be very interesting, actually. I want to look more into that, actually, Gore. That sounds quite interesting. UTB says, but I'm a cheap bastard, penny pincher, and digital assets are not taxed in the USA today. When it does, you will see a huge drop in cost to ownership. Carmack says, I think $25 for 4 plots would be a good price. Fizzy, how's it going? Fizzy Gaming, welcome in, brother. He says, I probably won't pay over $15 a month. If it is higher, may have to go back to WoW. It's interesting to see the wide threshold of what people are willing to pay. Let's see. Fadril says, however, I'd like the circle plots to go away and have square rectangle. They did talk, Fadril, about getting rid of those little squares that show up in the middle of, plots and stuff. John, how's it going? John says $15 a month. That's your threshold, I take it, John, in terms of what you're willing to pay per month per plot, or your threshold overall. So if they're $5, you'd have 3 plots, or if they're $15 for 1 plot, you'd have 1, I take it. Blimpy says maybe they could give a discount to those who supported the game earlier with the 4 plot package. Maybe they could do that. Emerald says, I think it depends on the size of the plot. Tier 2 furnaces are huge and take up a ton of space. And I do think that that's where some people were talking about it being kind of pay to win, because the more land you could have, the more you could produce. I do think that with a single plot, you can become extremely efficient, but you're maybe not going to be able to have something that looks beautiful or as beautiful as it could then if you were able to be a little more sprawling. Cat Died says, I think 2.5, so $2.50 per plot is reasonable. You need at least 4 plots to have a good single player experience, and $10 per month is $10 per month is reasonable. John says $15 for 1 plot. I'd have 0. Oh, okay. I got you. I see. So you're saying $15 is your total cap of what you're willing to pay. So hopefully they're at like $2.50 or $5, so you can have 3, 4, 5 plots. That'd be pretty decent for you then there. Let's continue through their article now that we've caught up with that chat. They say, we've been regularly adding new pieces to the game and plan to expand the build sets to give even more options to our master builders. Yes, the highly expected limestone should be a part of verse 3. Okay, so there we go. Then we got the answer to if limestone should be a part of verse 3. I don't really necessarily agree that they've been constantly or regularly adding new pieces to the game. I think we got like 2 influxes of new build pieces, and we just got another one recently. But they've been like really tiny pieces. So I guess maybe that's where they're getting regularly from over their last 3 big updates. They did give us little pieces like, you know, the grapevines and new archways was one of them. So yeah, they're giving us some new pieces, but probably not on the scale that people would like to see. But it is nice to know that limestone should be coming with verse 3. That said, the freeform nature of our building system comes with a number of challenges, notably on the performance side. Yes, this is a big one, really, guys. This is huge. The valleys with the most spectacular creations tend to be the hardest on frame rate, and that's absolutely true. And performance has been all over the place as they've been going through the iterations of the Unreal Engine builds. I've noticed that. So one day I can log in, I'll have over 100 frames, and then I'll log in the next day and it'll be 10 frames. It's really quite crazy, to say the least. They need to really dial in. Ange, I don't know what your rig is, but how have you been dealing with the performance? Has it been ebb and flowing for you as well? What's your performance been like as of late?
It's hit or miss on where I'm at, obviously. Yeah. So if it's highly populated, not so well because of, again, the plants, depending on what's there. But at other areas, it does really well. Like the other day when I logged in Bloodhaven, it surprisingly performed outstanding. But then when, traveling other areas, it just kind of plummets randomly. So it has its moments, definitely.
And it's interesting that you say the other day in Bloodhaven you had good frames, because the other day in Bloodhaven I had terrible frames. It seems so all over the place. There's not a lot of consistency to it. And I think that that's part of early access and getting that refined and dialed in. So I'm not going to be too hard on them on that. We have to remember that they're using early access as a beta. Whether you agree with that or not, they've stated that early access to them is beta. So we're technically in a beta phase. We're out of alpha, we're into beta. Normally after beta would come early access, but they're using early access as beta. So regardless of if you agree with it or not, that's what is actually happening. And we have to give them a little bit of leeway because it's not a fully developed game. So I think optimization will come, and it has to come. And if it doesn't come, it's going to also restrict people's ability to play the game, because not everyone has the best computers. We have a bunch more chat coming through now. We have Gorfor saying, yeah, I would not sub if it's above $5 per plot. I also don't want it to have a cap, but I also advise for the freemium model, or you advocate for the freemium model, because there are players that aren't builders. Yeah, I agree with that as well. I think if you're joining a clan and you already have access to like a sublet on one of my plots or something, I think that could be a cool way to actually drive in-character stuff as well. So think of it like this. I own 100 plots. I'm a whale in the game, and I just want to push real estate, and I want to use that to better myself in game, right? And this could be considered pay to win to some people, but think about it like this. I can then sublet out all of those plots to clan members or something. You guys don't have to pay anything. You get to play for free, and in turn, you're producing something for the clan. You're, making something, you're working on a skill or a trade, or you're collecting resources to pay, whatever we decide your rent should be. Maybe it's gold, maybe it's grace, maybe it's, insert anything here, items. I think that could then become a way of subletting and offsetting the cost for people who maybe otherwise would not be able to afford to be able to play PAX Day and pay a subscription. But that is an interesting take on it, though, Goreforce. I think that could be interesting. Yeah, you could trade for real estate. UTB says build item could count based on using items. I do think that plots need a build limit, like a number of plot limit, or how many pieces can interact or intersect with each other, because I think that's where a lot of lag comes from. Let's see here. About Shaw, how's it going? Welcome into the stream. He says, leave the devs to it. They're doing a great job. I think on some spots they're doing a great job, and I think in other spots people would argue there's some shortcomings and stuff, or some things that are underdeveloped for the size of the studio they are and the amount of money they have. Ultimately, I'm happy getting content added into the game. There's been a lot of talk. I've done a lot of these PaxCasts and interacted with absolutely massive amount of people in the PAX Day community. And one of the biggest things that I think is a downside that people have mentioned a lot is transparency and rate of development, considering how deep their pockets are and how big their development team is. But honestly, I think the things that we have gotten have been polished. So they, to their regard, like Sitting, they held off on giving us Sitting for a while, but we did get Sitting now, and it seems pretty polished. It's pretty decent, honestly. And maybe if we would have got it earlier, it would have not been as polished. I think that ultimately getting it into our hands earlier is better, because then we can help find those issues. Maybe it's not perfect. It doesn't need to be perfect at first. We are the testers. Let us test. But yeah, overall, I mean, we're getting content. It's slow for some people. John says, I guess I shouldn't be too cheap. For a $39.99 game cost, I have 1,300 hours, so that's about 0.03 cents an hour. Gofor says it's alpha because it's missing pillars. Beta means that it's feature complete. It just needs to squash bugs. Well, I'm just telling you what they said. I would agree with you on the development cycle and the traditional, use of early access, beta and alpha and all of that stuff. And, even before alpha, but I'm just going based on what they've said. They have said, the developers have spoken and said that they're using the early access as a beta. That's what they've said. So I agree with you though, that alpha or beta means feature complete, or at least, the main features that are there for what they consider to be the base game are complete. And that's why games like Star Citizen are in alpha still, because they're not feature complete. Let's see here. Carmack says, Egor Force 100%. That's how they're going to do it. Subscription for a plot, but you only need to buy the game with no sub and no plot. They haven't really been concise on that. So, I mean, I can't confirm that and say that they have confirmed that 100%. That would make sense in terms of a model, but I don't think they've come out and said that 100%. So I can't fully endorse it until they actually say it, but it would make sense, right? Jackson, how's it going, Jackson? Welcome into the stream, buddy. Jackson says, I feel it would be neat to travel with no plot. It will be nice when they set up the permissions for you to have personal access so you could store items while you are staying at an inn. Yes, I think that being able to sublet. I talked a while ago, months ago, about a Minecraft mod that I had where you could build a city and you could claim that city based on X amount of resources and stuff, or people or power, through a faction system. And then you could make an inn and you could target each corner of the room. And then you put a sign on the outside of the door. People could click on the sign and it would charge them X amount. It would tell them what the fee was per X amount of time. And then that room or that building or that space of land or that plot of land then becomes theirs. They can build on it. They can set permissions for it. They can do everything. You ultimately own it, but you're subleasing it. And I think that that'd be a really cool feature to have in PAX Day if they could somehow make that come to fruition.
I
go ahead.
Thought.
What do you got?
Okay, so now that Jackson has said that, it made my wheels start turning. Do you think that that's why they want to put storage and building stations at the starting areas?
Maybe they're starting to get the infrastructure in place for that. Yeah.
Well, maybe people won't be able to afford plots, so they're like, "Well, we'll take care of you right at the beginning."
Yeah, that is a really good point. And maybe they're planning on giving us permissions where we can restrict people from using our building stations and stuff, our crafting stations, and that's why we need them at the main spawn. That's a really good point. That's actually a really, really, really good point. Jackson says that'd be an awesome feature. Yeah, I would really look forward to that because I know several people, they really love running an inn and giving us, again, my main gripe with PAX Day has been that we just don't have the core features of a lot of things. We don't have the proper loot. We don't have proper permissions. We don't have proper systems that make an MMO fully yet. And I know they're working on those and they'll come when they come, but that's been my biggest gripe, honestly. So having systems like that to allow people to have those sublet properties and stuff would be really, really cool in my opinion. About Shaw says the game is great. They just need to peg some lore to the lands that will... do you have more to say on that? That will what? I think the game has a lot of potential for sure. Absolutely. If you've tuned in to any of my previous PaxCasts or any of my countless hundreds and thousands of hours that I've put into not only managing a community and a clan, but streaming as well for the first 30 days of PAX Day and so on. I mean, we have had so much fun in the game. I have over 2,000 hours now, if you consider the alpha and stuffs, and countless hours outside of that, managing 250 person clan, 400 plus person community. It's insane to think the amount of time that this has given us entertainment, for sure. And I know it's kind of a low right now. People aren't really super into feeling the desire to log in currently, but we've gotten a lot of value out of it, for sure. Let's see what else they go on to say here about building. They say, we've already rolled out a number of performance improvements. It was one of the underlying reasons for our recent shift to Unreal Engine 5.4, which again, I saw a massive performance decrease from that, and more in the works, they say. Finally, we still have to tackle the ghost town syndrome. Now, I think this is a big problem. I've noticed that there are really big cities that ultimately just lay dormant. I mean, I think it's a really big problem when you're getting into the game right now and you're trying to go around and explore and you're trying to have fun in a game where there's just not a lot of people. There's not a lot to interact with. Now, in some places there are the diehard holdouts and stuff, but I think that ultimately they need to tackle the ghost town syndrome. And they say it right here. I mean, they say, finally, we have to tackle the ghost town syndrome. When the world gradually fills up with homes of inactive players, work on a more robust system to clean up old plots of inactive players has started. More details will come soon. Ange, how do you feel about the whole ghost town issue?
I mean, it reaffirms the reality of the situation, right? That there's not much going on in the game right now. Unfortunately, we're lacking more content. And because of that, now we have ghost towns. They did address that at some point they are going to start, cleaning up plots, but they touched on it for 20 seconds and then never came back to it. And that was, a couple weeks ago now, I want to say.
And I think one of the main problems too is, like, you're talking about plot cleanups and they're talking about plot cleanups, but I don't think that's even the biggest issue. I think the biggest issue is causing the longevity of the game to flourish to where it's not just build a giant city, play for a while, and then everyone else who comes after you just runs through empty cities that have literally zero people online. I mean, it's a big problem. And I even during prime times, you can go to big flourishing cities that had tons of people in their streets, and it's just not the same experience for new players. And that's why I have a hard time recommending getting into PAX Day as it currently is right now. I mean, hell, I don't even really play PAX Day that much right now. I keep up with I do a lot of role play still. We still interact with people. I still get on to help our new members and stuff be able to get materials they need and engage with new people and things like that. But it's a big drought. And I mean, I think content and the core systems, giving us the core systems to enable us to be able to fully immerse ourselves in the world for a much longer time is going to be key. I mean, just a couple days ago, there was like a 300 player cap during a 7 p.m. on a 7 p.m. in the evening, which is prime time for people to be playing video games and stuff. So it's very interesting to see that they're addressing the ghost town syndrome as being just empty plots, but I don't think the empty plots are the problem. I think it's like the empty cities. It's not really like you don't have to just getting rid of the plots and getting rid of the cities. That doesn't really fix the issue, because now it's just people just don't have things to look at, Now it's like there's just nothing for them to go around and see. I'd rather there be empty cities than no cities, to be honest. I mean, they become lag fests for people who are trying to just travel through some areas, but I don't think we're like at the point where we're at plot limits. I mean, obviously there may be some good real estate that someone will want or something like that, but ultimately the main issue is that there's just not a lot of people playing the game, and that's what's causing that ghost town syndrome. It's not the fact that there's just plots that need to be cleaned up. It's the fact that we need to have reasons to stay in those plots, Right. Maven says, yeah, a lot of playtime out of it so far, with a pending wipe even being discussed. up to like 3 months out does make me less inclined to log in for now. Exactly, and especially when they've said that this wipe will be more extensive than, they have confirmed that this wipe will be more extensive than the last one. The only thing I can take from that is, if we look at the last wipe, they wiped the world and all of our items went into a redeeming queue, and our characters remained, like with our skills and stuff. We just had to like rename them or remake them or whatever. But what would mean more extensive than that would mean something more than that being wiped. What more could they wipe? Now that could mean a couple things. That could mean we're still going to have a redeeming queue, but they're going to wipe our characters. I don't know how that would work, because you'd still have the skills, or you'd still have the items, but you wouldn't have the skills, so you wouldn't be able to use a lot of the items and the materials. Or it could mean we're not going to get a redeeming queue, but we're going to keep our characters. So all of the items will be wiped, but our character skills will remain, and you got to go and regrind all the materials. But your skills will still be there, or it means a full wipe. That's the really only way that and if I had to put money on it, I would think they're probably leaning towards a full wipe. I mean, let's be honest. The game is going to need a full wipe in order for us to fully test. We are testers. We need to fully test from the ground up the experience and the balance and the progression and the rate of everything. And I don't know how they can do that without doing a full wipe. John Longshore says, my issue is there is nobody playing, but yet plots are being built crazy fast. My little house is now surrounded by builds that I've never seen an owner. Well, and that's really the problem, honestly. It comes down to the lack of content and stuff. And, you know, for people who have 2,000 hours in the game, sure, a wipe would bring us back, but they did say that they're not going to do wipes simply for the sake of a wipe. There has to be a reason. There has to be something new for us to test that would require us being reset. Queen says, yep, there's a cute village right next to me taking space, and I haven't seen anyone there. Yeah, and that's all over the place. Athena says, I think full wipe is coming, and so tons of playability. Athena says, hi, Lady Maven. Athena, really great to see you. Christopher, how's it going, buddy? Welcome into the stream, Christopher. Christopher says, when are we going to get market ledgers? I want to know exactly what I sold. I agree with you there, and they've talked about that in the past. I want to know what I sold, when I sold it, who I sold it to, how much it was for, how many of it they bought. I want to have analytics on that stuff 100%. Yeah, for sure. Maven says, I'm very excited to see what they will have in the works, however. Let's see some more chat here. ELTB says, one of the best things UO had was non-combat NPCs to interact with, both placeable and by players, and random by the triggered by, say, building areas, and lore added, so less empty, but load balance. I think it'd be pretty interesting. Christopher says, wiping skills would be the worst idea ever right now, especially on the newer servers. People haven't done anything but craft and build, no dungeons, etc. Wiping skills would push back that experience. I don't know. I mean, so many people are this way or that way with it. I appreciate your opinion, and I definitely can understand and resonate with it 100%. I foresee, if they don't do a full wipe, this is just my opinion, I foresee a lot of people like Black Pickle, myself, and all of the diehards who have been very, very invested in it will come back. People will place their plots, and they'll build up a big city. We'll role play for a while. We'll have some fun for a while. We'll check out a lot of the new stuff that was added into the game. And then because we have nothing left to earn or achieve, it will slowly turn back to exactly how it is right now. That's how I would see it going. So I don't know. Yeah, Christopher, I mean, it could go one way or the other. A lot of people say that they if they do a wipe, they're done with the game until launch. Wipes are a part of the development process. So, I mean, no matter what happens, I'm here for it. And hopefully they make the right decision, no matter what that may mean for the development process. If it's a full wipe, then if the full wipe's what we need, then a full wipe's what I hope for. If it's a partial wipe is what we need, then a partial wipe I hope for. But yeah, there's definitely strong feelings on both sides of that for sure. UTB says, the sweaty beard folks, self-included. God Silent Grace says, I'm so ready for a full wipe. I want to grind again. John says, I like to see recipes at crafting tables sorted alphabetically. There's no order from what I can tell. Fredrill says, bring on a full wipe, please. Yeah, and I think, honestly, let's do a poll. You know what? I want to give you guys a voice. Let's do it. We're going to do a poll. Let's do full wipe. Yes or no? Let's just hear it. Let's just see what people think about it. I mean, we got We got over 40 people in chat. Let's hear what you guys think in terms of, should we have a full wipe? Are you in favor of a full wipe? Are you, all things considered, would you be okay with a full wipe? It's completely up to you guys, honestly. They're going to do what they're going to do anyways, but I just want to hear from you, and I'd like to know your thoughts on what a wipe would mean for you, your community, your members, your players, all that good stuff. I want to know. We'll leave it up for a while, and we'll let everyone have a chance to vote on it, and then don't let me forget to close it out so we can get the results. Jackson says, I hope they bring back my great swords. Yeah, the Zweihanders. Fadril says, my vote counts as 50, wink. Saw says, give me the wipe. UTB says, more Ange and wipe baby. John says, if not a full wipe, at least a bid it. A what? A bid it? Yeah, I think some people are on one side or the other when it comes to a wipe. We'll see here. We'll let people voice their opinion through that.